Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here with episode number 28, I believe. I think I might have said 26 on I think I was saying 26 on the last one, and it was actually 27. Let me check the phone here. Oh, yeah, it's 28. I got it right this time. I'm not really that good with numbers. Anyways, it's December 28th. This is our series we're doing on progressive rock albums from the 1980s. So we're here again with another one of these neo-prog bands from the 1980s that came out during the second wave of progressive rock. I did not know this band was one of them until I started trying to find the music so I could listen to it online. Very difficult to find. I actually found something, played about 3/4 of it before I realized this can't be them. It doesn't sound anything like what I thought they would sound like. So of course it turned out not to be, so I ended up finding a spot that was selling the songs individually, and I listened to each of the tracks that way. Unfortunately, they were live. I was hoping to get the studio versions. But, still pretty good stuff. So anyways, here we are. The band we're doing today is called Quasar, and the album is called The Lorelei. Came out in 1989. This band has only 3 studio albums and some live albums as well. It looks like they appear to have a revolving door where membership is concerned, and that may be the reason why they only have the 3 albums, because the albums are not bad. The female vocalist on this particular thing, and I apologize if it isn't the one that was on the original album. It may be a different vocalist because they had so many, but she was very strong voice, but also very operatic, I found, and very high end, like very high top voice. So the opening track, which is called The Lorelei, is the actual short song on the album. It was probably originally meant to be the single, but it's not a bad song by any stretch. I think it's referring to a boat. I could be wrong here, but I've listened to the lyrics, and I think that's what it's referring to. So it opens with a keyboard synthesizer opening. Female voice is whispering. She's kind of saying stuff almost like whispers in the dark type of thing, little whispers, and then she sings. She's pretty strong. There's a guitar bit that's very mellow on the song, and the atmosphere is that of a kind of a fantasy. It's kind of like a mystic fantasy. So it almost reminds me of some kind of Disney movie. That's the kind of feel I get from it. But it's not too bad. It's pretty good. Band is pretty mellow for the most part. Not super heavy, with some little heavy parts here and there, but pretty much a mellow band, I think, overall. Very keyboard oriented, and also very synthesizer oriented. So a lot of synths here. I don't think they're as good as some of the previous neo-prog bands from that era, the Palace, Pendragon, IQ, Marillion. I don't think they're quite as good as them, but they certainly have the qualifications to fit within that category. They certainly sound well within the borders of those bands. So so that's the first track. Gave it a 6. I think I gave them all 6s. The last song I think I liked maybe a little better, but I still think they're all 6s. So basically it's a good, passable album, but not a great album, but it's not bad. The second song is called As You Fall Asleep, and this one has a kind of gentle key guitar part at the beginning with some synthesizers mixed in, and then the bass and the drums are builded up and then they are kind of repetitive, I guess, repetitive or creating a kind of rhythm to the song, and they're kind of more in the back, but once they start that, it continues for the rest of the song. It's kind of a melodic build up too, it's not instantaneous. That melodic build up kind of just the way they build it up slowly with the keyboards and the drums and that. It has very, very similar to the Cage on Genesis' Lamb Lies Down on Broadway at that part. Yeah, that kind of thing. So if you can picture that, you can picture what's happening here. There's some heavy parts with some strong vocals, I think. Just this pretty good track. I don't mind it. I was going to look through the lyrics, but I thought, I'm overindulging. That's not what I wanted to try to accomplish here. But I think the lyrics are probably very interesting. The female's voice is quite high, though, and difficult to follow what she's saying. I think if you read the lyrics, you could probably follow her better. Okay, the third track, that song is about 10 minutes as well. So there's like two 10-minute tracks and then an 8-minute track. And the opening track, which is 5 or 6 minutes, I believe. So the third track is called Power in Your Hands. Another keyboard opening, some nice kind of, guy uses his drumsticks to make kind of a stick noise. I know it's his drumsticks because I do the same thing sometimes. Another female vocal. I think all the tracks are female vocals. She's got a very high range, almost operatic voice. Yeah, so at the point when she starts to sing, at the point when she starts to sing, there's this kind of, all the instruments just slowly jump up, and they keep jumping up, and the keyboards become very dominant at this point in this song. Pretty dominant keyboards. Some nice rhythms though, like very nice rhythms. Her voice at times, it's gonna sound weird, but her voice at times reminds me of Cher. She has that kind of range, and that little part of her voice that has a Cher tone to it. I can hear Cher's voice there. I know she's not on there, and this lady isn't her, but just not always, but every once in a while I catch that. On this song, I caught it a couple times. So a very good track. Not a bad track. I gave that a 6 as well. Then the final song is called Logic. It's about 10, 11 minutes. Some good keys and synthesizer build up here. And then they kind of get a little bit heavier. It's not dissimilar from the last track. It's somewhat similar, but longer and more methodic, I think. Her voice is more powerful on this song than any of the other tracks as well. She really is belting it out at certain points on this track. Some strong keys and guitars and percussion. The percussion is almost Genesis-like, and I hear a lot of Phil Collins when I'm listening here. That's what I'm hearing, but obviously it's not Phil Collins, but there's some similarities in the styles here. The lyrics are mystical, as is the first album. The first song is very fantasy-oriented. Mystical, I guess, is another word you could use. There's a lot of that here on this particular track, too. It has that musical feel to it, like something that you would get from a Disney film, like maybe not the Lion King, but like what's that one, Frozen. It's got that kind of feel to it. Like it's almost mystical, and the vocals are almost the same. It's a kind of a dramatic feel to it. So if you like that kind of thing, there's a lot of that on this album too. So overall, I think it's a pretty solid album. It surprises me that this group has not done more music. Maybe there's nothing really different here on any of their tracks that make it stand out or would play well on a radio channel or that. I'm not really sure why. I think a lot of it is because they seem to, like when I was looking up what the tracks were, because it doesn't tell you on the place I was playing, I had listed all the tracks. I noticed that they had a fair number of musicians in the group, like a lot. Like some bands might have, like Yes has got a lot. There's probably been 15 or 20 people play in Yes, which I think is a lot. These people have easily at least that, and maybe more. So that, I think the more different members you have, the harder it is to be continuous. It's harder to, sorry, I don't know why I'm yawning, I'm just tired, I guess. Very built up. It's hard to build up any kind of momentum. That's what I'm thinking of. Like you get an album out, you want to do the tour on the album, and then do another album right away, and then tour, and like totally build up your fan base. It's hard to do that when you're switching people all the time, because then you got to retrain them on what you've done, and then try to make new stuff. That's a lot of work. And I think they had 2 albums in the 80s. I think one was early in the 80s, and then the other one was like this one, 1989. And I don't think they had any till the turn of the century, maybe even further, like a lot. Now I remember reading that they have another one coming out soon, so they'll have like 4 studio albums in 40 years. That's one every 10 years. Even Boston's not that bad. But yeah, so it's very difficult to make an impact with so little material, but that's not bad material. I think if they were to put out an album every couple of years early on, they could have developed a sound that might be more, and then once you develop a sound, you will attract people who like that sound, and they become loyal followers. But I think it's difficult for a band like this. But they definitely fit well within those neo-prog bands that came out in the 80s. They fit well within that. I did not know they were one of those bands. So I have, basically after today, I have 3 more, and at least 2 of them are neo-progs as well, because I know that Solace is mentioned as being a band like that. And then I added that 12th Night, I think that's what they're called. I added them to the list because I was short a group, and I didn't realize it till I got down there. So both of those bands are added to the list. So, or the 12th added to that list of Solace. So then you got like 7 of these bands out of the 31. That's more than I would have thought that there was. But I've enjoyed all of them. Even this one wasn't too bad. And we got those 2, and then we have the News from Babel, which is the other group that's going to fit in there. I think they're the 30th. But anyway, so we got 1 more of these, or 2 more of these. So I'm hoping that they're as good as the others. Like, they've all been pretty good. Like, this is probably, I think, my least favorite of those first 5 that I've done, and this one's still like all 6s, so that's still good, right? So yeah, so I'm glad I got turned on to this particular thing. Anyways, I hope you like. If you do, please like this video and subscribe. It's much appreciated. And we'll be back with this album. Will come out tomorrow morning, and we'll be back with another one the following day. I hope you have a good night, and we will see you then. Good night.